Hey everyone, so I'm going to quickly evaluate a website that I created and Google Slide that I use in my classroom for accessibility. So after reading chapter 5 by Rice, I walked away with some key insights. Rice discussed a few online learning practices for students with disabilities and found that many students actually preferred online delivery. This was largely because those students said they received the same information in the same format as their hearing peers, which created a level I would say more of a level playing field. Additionally, they could access the material independently without relying on an interpreter. Similar findings were observed for students who were visually impaired. And this really struck me because an online learning environment really truly has the potential to support successful outcomes for students with disabilities. Of course, this depends on whether the materials are truly accessible to them. So with that in mind, I took a closer look at my own website in Google Slides and realized that they wouldn't necessarily be accessible to all students. Reviewing the online accessibility handbook helped me recognize that I need to make some significant changes to ensure that my materials are really inclusive and accessible to all students. So I learned a lot in this module. I'll kind of take you through a few things. So here on the next page, I took a look at the online accessibility handbook and kind of went over my website with a fine-tooth comb and recognized that some of these things I highlighted, I would really need to change in my website if I wanted it to be accessible for all people. So from headings to links, you can see the color contrast I would probably have to fix, images, the alternative alt text, never knew that existed, to be quite honest. So I would have to get that in on every image. The navigation, clear design and consistent navigation. I think my website is poorly designed in that sense. It is the first website I've ever created, so trying to give myself a little grace in that sense. Videos, I did not actually just have links, but actually embedded them. So I'll show you kind of the video captions there. And then the outputs with MathML, I have never used before, and I'm recognizing the necessity for that. So I'll bring you over to my website and kind of quickly review some of the things that I noticed were missing for the most part in my web design. All right, so here is the website that I created on through Google. I will not take you through the entire site. You can see there's a bunch of different tabs up here, but I'll just show you a few quick things that I recognized I would have to change in this website to make it more accessible. So first of all, if I go into preview, I originally thought that this picture was more faded and you could see Mrs. Grant's math notes. Clearly it's not. So I would most definitely have to change the coloring of maybe this picture is too distracting for people. I would have to make this font stand out more. As I go down and take a look at the web page, I think this is pretty accessible for students to read. This white background with the blue writing, I think actually might be difficult the more I look at it. So maybe changing this to a black background with white writing might be a little bit more helpful for students. And then I'll explain that in a minute. So what I also did was I took a look at Helperbird, which is something I learned about in Module 4. And when I went down here, I went to the text-to-speech, and I had Helperbird read through my website. As I did that, it did notice that this was a header type, as you can see here, and then it read down through my next paragraph to the next to the next, and then I had some issues here, which you can see I've been messing around with. So the directions say click on the unit we're studying, then select the specific math notes you're working on. So here I would probably change click on the unit we're studying to click on the picture below that's associated with the unit, because the buttons are the actual pictures, which could be confusing for students. As Helperbird read through this, it actually jumped from this paragraph and then to changing Earth and human activity and forgot about weather, climate, Earth systems, and space. So what I recognized here is that I had to create headings, which I did here. You'll notice that I just used normal text and it didn't read the normal text, but if I changed this to heading, then it would read through weather and climate, Earth systems, changing Earth and human activity. So all of these would have to be changed to headings. And if I did that, it would obviously change the font size here, but I'll spare you the details there. Then Helperbird actually read through each of these, going from left to right. The other thing I did was I went into the pictures. Let me see if I can grab one. And I went into alt text, which honestly I did not know ever existed. It's clear as to why it does now. And I filled in a description here, and I did this for each of them. So I put aerial shot of a hurricane over the Gulf of Mexico so a student can understand what that was. Click on this picture to go to the weather and climate page. So a little bit more clear cut of what that picture looks like and where it would be taking you navigation wise. All right, so the Accessibility Handbook also talked about the importance of writing meaningful link text, ensuring that all of the embedded links clearly describe their destination. It said that this would help users navigate more efficiently, particularly those using screen readers. And when I look at my own website, it's quite clear that I've not incorporated meaningful link text. So I would have to go back and revise most of these links to improve the accessibility. But if I were to take you over to my weather and climate page, so this gives you a little bit better picture of what I originally thought the top of my website looked like, where this picture's faded and you can see weather and climate. But again, I still think that this picture just might be a little bit too much and distracting. So as I go down, I had Helper Bird again read through everything. I changed these again so it would read. These are also links that take you to proportional relationships and line graphs. Again, I don't know if it's very clear that they have to click on these pictures. I don't say that up here in the direction, so I would probably go back and fix that. If I take you over to proportional relationships, so here's another site. So proportional relationships, and I scroll down. Helper Bird did read this for me. And then the video here, I did embed, and I was worried about the closed captioning. So I went up to view this, and I will just show it to you here. So when I go here, you'll notice that I had started playing the video. I can't do it when I'm recording, unfortunately, because it just keeps cutting the video out. But nonetheless, you'll notice that here the closed captioning did come through. So I was happy to see that. So I believe that it's probably okay to keep this embedded here. Students can still access the closed captioning. Click on the pictures below to explore proportions. So again, I changed these down here into header so that they were red. And then each picture here, as it says above, you can click on to explore proportions at different websites. If I scroll down here, I think this is fairly easy to read, but maybe not clear on the fact that students would click on these buttons to access different practice with proportions and tables, graphs, and word problems. So again, something I should change. If I scroll back up to the top and I kind of just take you through a few of the different pages on my website, you'll notice that they all look a little different. So they start off looking similar. Let me just take you through another one. Let's do Earth Systems, Space. So some look more similar than others, but the Online Accessibility Handbook does emphasize the importance of clear and consistent navigation so that students are able to focus on the content rather than how to find it. This is definitely an area I think I need to improve on my website. While the top of each page is fairly similar, the design becomes kind of inconsistent as you scroll down, with each page taking on its own look and layout, which could be confusing. So overall, I do believe I have a lot to improve upon with this website. But again, I've learned so much through Rice's Chapter 5 and looking at the Online Accessibility Handbook in regards to how I've designed this and what I need to change to make it more accessible for all students. All right, so I went through the Online Accessibility Handbook for Google Slides as well, and noticed that the things I highlighted were things I would have to change within my Google Slides. I actually looked at a number of Google Slides that I had, and these things kind of stuck out to me. One thing I really have a bad habit of doing is creating a slide layout with blank slide templates, and then I enter text. In doing so, I'm not using headers. I'm not using some of the format that helps a screen reader properly read through the Google slide. Similarly to my website, I have never added the alternative alt text to any images, so I need to go ahead and change that. Links, had to make a few changes to links in some of my Google Slides. Tables, I definitely had to reorder when I was using Helperbird to read through it to ensure that it was doing it in the proper direction. Color, I took a look at some of the color for different pages that I had to change. And then don't embed the video. Sometimes I do. So I also added links for that for students who would benefit. So before I take you over to my Google Slide / PowerPoint, I just wanted to show you something I found on Microsoft. This website, it says make your PowerPoint presentations accessible to people with disabilities. And as you scroll down, it is extremely helpful. It goes through what to fix, how to find it in Microsoft, why fix it, and then directions on how to fix those things. So include alternative text with all visuals. It goes along nicely with the handbook that we're reading. So as you scroll down, check accessibility while you work. So I went through and tried this, create accessible slides. So there was just a lot of helpful tools here. I found using PowerPoint to be more adaptable in regards to making things accessible than I did with the Google Slide, which is why I brought it into PowerPoint. Okay. All right, so here is a Google Slide that I brought into PowerPoint. It's on macroinvertebrates. I go over this lesson before taking my students on a field trip to Pennypack, which is a park nearby our school. But basically what I found here is if I go down to Accessibility Investigate, that this will help kind of guide me through the issues that I may have in each of my Google Slides. As I said, I took a look at a bunch of them. I just focused on this one. So as I scroll down, you'll notice that I have a lot of text missing from pictures, 46 to be exact. There are 17 slides here with a lot of pictures, so I would have a lot to edit there. Many slide titles are missing. As I said, I generally start with blank templates, which I'm finding is a big problem if I'm using like a screen reader, because it's not going through each of the pages correctly. Check reading order, so a lot of different things. So what I did here is I clicked on show only issues on current slide, and then I went through and started making alterations to each of these issues that I had. All right, so when I looked at the missing alt text, it says that I have 4, and in reality there's only one picture here, which was actually a video. What I'm noticing when I went through this is it's seeing some of these text boxes that I have as images. So in order to fix that in the future, I would want to use the Google templates rather than starting from a blank template like I have in the past. I could go ahead and add a description here for the picture, and then instead of having this directly embedded as I did in my Google document, I would put a link below, and that link would bring them to the video that is on YouTube so they can have the closed caption. The other thing I did was I checked the reading order, which was very informative. So when I went here, I took a look and I scrolled through to see how this would be read in order. It starts with the learning target because I actually just went in and made that my header, or like the title of this page. In reality, I think I would like to have macroinvertebrates read first, so I would make this my header and then the learning target. Generally, I do my check-in first, then I read over the agenda, the checkouts for the end of our lesson. As I go through this, you'll notice it jumps, let's see. So my learning target's here, and then it goes to, let me see if I can get this to show you, sorry. So the agenda is here, then next it goes up to my learning target again, then it goes over to the check-in, then it's to the checkout, then up to macroinvertebrates. So you'll notice that I have a lot of issues with the reading order. And again, I know that's because of the way that I originally set up this slide using a blank template. So I need to go back and make some major changes so that if a student were reading over this, it would go through it in the correct order. All right, so moving through to another page. Here I noticed I had taken a look and it was not reading it properly. This up here I actually changed to the title so that it would read it first. I also noticed that it says 19 images have auto-generated alt text. So it went through and did it for me. Most of them were not necessarily correct, but it was easy enough to go back and fix. So I went ahead and said view alt text. So this was a hand holding a rock, and then next taking a closer look, a magnified view of the rock, which contains a few macroinvertebrates. They are macroinvertebrates, would be read last. So just changing kind of the way that I set up this slide so that a student would be taken through it correctly. All right, so I'm not going to walk you through this entire PowerPoint, but I did make several accessibility improvements. I added alt text to all images and adjusted the way I linked to videos as well. While this particular presentation here doesn't have any tables, I did realize from another PowerPoint that I do need to review how they're read by screen readers. That process definitely helped me recognize that the importance of simplifying tables for students who need to listen to it is crucial. One feature that I think would be helpful is this record button. If I were teaching an online class, I could use it to present the slides and talk through the content, giving students the option to listen to my explanation as they navigate the presentation. They could still go through the slideshow independently if they didn't need this, but having that audio option would provide extra support for those who need it. So all in all, I think, obviously with my website and with my Google Slides / PowerPoints, there are a lot of improvements I need to make for accessibility. Again, prior to this module, I did not know about any of this, so I do appreciate what I learned through both the handbook and Rice's Chapter 5. Thank you for listening. I apologize once again, as always, for the length of some of these videos. Take care.